どうも、勝手に電力2.0ゼミ始めたいと思います。今日1116回目というところで、このカリマンタン島の電力事情というところですね。特に新首都っていうところにサンタラができるところであるので、この辺りにある島っていうところで、実際にこのカリマンタン島というところが、かなりシンガポールとか地方に近くて、実際にそのマレーシアとブルネイと、インドネシアっていう国がある、3つの国があるような島なんですけど、その中で、電力事情どういうところかというところを少しお話したいなと思ってます。で、チャプターで、実際この九電工さんの報告書の中にあったので、そのあたりを少しお話しさせてもらおうかなと。で、1個はまずは、このエレクトリシティセクターをインドネシアということで、インドネシアのエレクトリシティポリシーと、エレクトリシティセクターオーガナイゼーションと、カーレントエレクトリシティコンディションインカリマンタンアイランドということで、3章目というところに、カリマンタン島の電力事情というところが出てくると。Chapter 2, Electricity Sector of Indonesia Electricity Policy. In July 2021, the Indonesian government announced a long-term strategy for low carbon and climate resilience 2050, and Indonesia's revised nationality determined contribution NDC, which is the country's emission reduction goal to be submitted to the UNFCCC Secretariat under the Paris Agreement. In the revised NDC, the government presented its goal of carbon neutrality, which entails reducing greenhouse gas GHG emissions to zero in real terms by 2060. 2060年にカーボンニュートラルですね。At the latest. 10 years sooner than the original deadline of 2017. The GHG emissions by scenario and sector up to 2030 are given in Table 1. Compared to the business as usual case without particular countermeasures, the reduction goals are 834 million tons without international assistance and 1,185 million tons, 41% less than BAU, with international support CM2 respectively, indicating that international support is indispensable to achieve the long-term goal. Table 1, GHG emissions by scenario and sector up to 2030ということで、実際に2010年のレコードと2030年のフォレキャス予想というところと、エミッションズリダクション、実際の減らす量というのはどうなっているのかというところで、このエナジーと廃棄物、ウェイスト、インダストリアルプロセスというところとか、アグリカルチャー、農業、フォレストランドユース、土地利用ということですね。トータルでどのぐらい出しているのかというところで、実際この1334メガトンっていうところが2010にあるところを、実際にですね、まだまだ増えていくんですよね。フォレキャストではどんどん2030年時点で増えていくので、実はまだリダクションというところが、全然なかなかいかないというようなところになるのかなと。で、LTS、LCCR 2050 states the needs to increase the renewable energy ratio in the energy mix by propelling drastic energy transition, improve energy efficiency, and substantially reduce coal consumption after 2030. Technologically, the utilization of carbon dioxide capture and storage (CCU), carbon dioxide capture, utilization or storage (CCUS), and bioenergy with carbon capture and storage is envisioned. However, power generated with fossil fuel is expected to increase by approximately 40% in a 10-year period, and also its ratio to the total power generation will decrease. It will still be high at around 75% in 2030. ということで、実際にですね、どういう電源が増えていくかっていうところで、バイオマスとかジオサーマル、特に地熱みたいなところがやっぱり多く出てくるだとか、CCUS とかっていうのも出てくると。The electricity policy system and the direction for electricity power development. The National Energy Policy, established in 2014, sets out the outline of energy policy up to 2050 as a reduction of fossil fuel dependency, promotion of renewable energy, dissemination, and energy conservation. In 2017, the Grand National Energy Plan 2015 to 2050 was established, describing specific measures to achieve the goals set forth in the energy policy above. The Presidential Regulation number 112 of 2022 on the accumulation of renewable energy development for power supply mandates MEMR to prepare a roadmap that will propel the early elimination of coal-fired power plants. These laws and regulations ban the new development of coal-fired power plants 石炭火力というところをもう基本的に禁止していくということで、新規は、except for those already included in the electricity supply business plan. ルプトルの方から、だから供給計画からどんどん削除していくと。And plants that meet certain criteria. Also, it is stipulated that when PLN prepares LUPTL, it must consider renewable energy development based on the National Grid General Electricity Plan, RUCAN, which at the time of preparing this report means LPTL 2021 to 2030. According to LPTL 2021 to 2030, the power generation capacity based on fossil fuel accounts for 87.4%, and that using renewable energy makes up 12% of the 2020 total generation capacity. In the 2030 plan, the ratio of the fossil fuel-based capacity is 71%, and renewable energy-based capacity is 28% of the total generation capacity. However, with the drastic demand increase forecasted for the future, the total power generation capacity is expected to rise from 63,336 megawatts in 2020 to 99,208 megawatts in 2030. In the plan, the coal and gas-based power generation capacity is go up from 55,356 megawatts in 2020 to 71,033 megawatts in 2030. Although the ratio of fossil fuel-based power to the total power generation will be smaller in the 10-year period, the actual capacity will be greater, and as a result, GHG emission will increase as described in LTS LCR 2050. The utilization of CCU, CCUS, and BECS is envisioned as a countermeasure. However, there are technological issues facing these techniques at this time. Thus, other measures are listed, including biomass mixed combustions, use of waste fuel, and hydrogen utilization based on PR 112 to 2022 and the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources Regulation number 15 of 2017. On the utilization of renewable energy resources for the production of electricity, as last amended by the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources Regulation number 53 of 2018, and the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources Regulation number 4 of 2020. PLN is required to purchase renewable energy. Details are given in Chapter 3. Also, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources Regulation number 39 of 2017 on utilization of renewable energy and new energy physical activities as amended by Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources Regulation number 12 of 2018 on amendment of Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources Regulation number 39 of 2017 on utilization of renewable energy and new energy physical activities and stipulates renewable energy procurement by regional governments and other matters. The regional governments are required to procure electricity directly or indirectly from new energy and renewable energy sources, as well as to promote energy conservation, budget and financial resources. Budgeting for power generation business is generally left to state-run power company, PTPLN, and IPPS. Piece that carries out the business. PLN's income consists of electricity sales income and government subsidy. やっぱ補助金も入ってるんですね。While expenditure include costs for fuel for power generation, operation and maintenance, labor and amortization, and payment to IPP for purchase electricity. IPPs invest in the construction and operation and recover such investments by selling electricity to PLN. IPP はとにかく TN の売電をしていくと。The electricity sale price is set by MEMR and is subject to approval of the parliament. The cost for the construction of power plants as well as the construction and maintenance of transmission distribution grids are covered by public funds such as bilateral and funds including ODA through the Indonesian government multilateral aid funds and the funds of the Indonesian government and PLN. However, public funds are not enough, and private funds are also utilized through IPP businesses. The government subsidy pays for these deficits, such as power generation costs not covered by PLN's tariff income. The government's subsidies in the early 20s were 2 to 4 trillion rupees, but went up due to higher cost of fuel for power generation caused by the rise in oil price. The 2021 subsidies was 18 trillion rupiah. Ideal efforts are being made to lower the subsidies and ease the financial burden by revising the reduced tariff in stage. Promotion of investment and private business, power plants, and other facilities needs to be built to keep up with the strong growth in electricity demand. However, as experienced above, public funds can only go so far in covering the necessary costs, and as a result, efforts are being made to attract private funds in power generation business. As of 2021, about 27% of electricity is supplied by IPPs. Financial and non-financial incentives are offered to IPPs to develop power plants that utilize renewable energy. The preferential treatments under the Presidential Regulation number 112 of 2022 on the acceleration of the development of renewable energy for the supply of electrical power are listed below. Details of such treatment are not defined in the said presidential regulation. A. Corporate tax reduction. B. Import tariff reduction. C. Real property tax reduction. D. Support for geothermal power development. E. Provision of financial support and/or security through a government-appointed state-run enterprise (PLN). Also, the presidential regulation on foreign investment restrictions was revised in 2021, and restrictions in many fields, including renewable energy, were greatly relaxed in Indonesia. Presidential Regulation number 10 of 2021 on investment business fields as last amended by Presidential Regulation number 49 of 2021. In the new Presidential Regulation, 100% foreign investments are allowed in almost all renewable energy-based power generation を 100% 外国投資というですね、transmission, distribution businesses except for power generation of less than 1 megawatt per hour. Non-financial incentives are offered by the central and regional governments in accordance with the current laws and regulations. And when a renewable energy-based power plant is developed, Minister of Finance, heads of ministries and agencies, and regional governments must offer support based on the respective authorities, system, and policy for hybrid power generation. Of renewable power source development plan in Lupto, hydroelectric power accounts for about 50%, followed by solar about 22%, and the rest is compromised for geothermal, wind, biomass, and EBT-based power plants. EBT-based power plants are base load power plants that are planned to replace coal-fired thermal power plants and expected to serve the base load together with gas-fired thermal power. One of the important points of the latest Lupto is the plan for biomass mixed combustion power generation, coal-fired power plants that can be used for mixed combustion. Approx 19 gigawatts were identified according to the trial calculation. Such endeavor will require 2.7 gigawatts from renewable energy and up to 14 million tons per year of biomass fuel. To realize this plan, the biomass supply must be secured and stable biomass price ensures, for which PLN is seeking the government support in terms and regulations and policy. Regarding the procurement mechanism and electricity purchase price for renewable energy-based power generation project, PR 112/2022 has set the latest rules. With this, the electricity purchase price can be increased based on the power plant side by multiplying the base rate which differs based on the type of renewable power source by the location factor. The factor is set higher for islands and remote areas to take into account the procurement and transport costs, and business risks borne by the power producer. The base rate for the single body battery is set, but not for hybrid power source. Multiple types of source with battery, as in this demonstration. A move toward total elimination of diesel power generation. The Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources Decree number 180 of 2021 mandates the diesel power plants to be converted to use renewable energy in stages. First, diesel power plants with a maximum capacity of 250 megawatts that are in multiple locations in Indonesia will be converted to utilize the renewable energy. In the second stage, the remaining diesel power plants, equivalent to approx 338 megawatts, are to be converted to renewable energy-based power plants that utilize the optical and economical natural resources of the respective areas. Additionally, PLN has planned dieselization program for diesel power plants in 22,130 locations, totaling 2.37 gigawatts, namely first, conversion and to renewable energy-based power plants with a capacity of 500 megawatts. Two, conversion of the plants equivalent to 598 megawatts to gas-fired power plants, gasification. And three, elimination of diesel power plants equivalent to 1,070 megawatts by expanding isolated transmission grid to form a wide area transmission grid. The rest of the diesel power plants, totaling 203 megawatts, are to be used as backup in case of power outage. There are 6 diesel power plants with the dieselization potential in North Kalimantan province. Measures towards smart grid and distribute power sources. The future is likely to see accelerated moves to introduce renewable energy into microgrids on isolated islands and remote areas, and to lower the ratio of internal combustion power generation, such as diesel power generation, in stages. In such cases, it will be critical to establish a mechanism that can manage existing power plants and renewable energy-based power plants in a unified manner toward coordinated operation. In bidding for the dieselization that PLN held for Slayer Island, South Sulawesi province, and other locations in 2022, this function was included as a bidding condition for the first time. Electricity sector organization, administrative organization. Indonesia's electricity business is conducted in accordance with the electricity law number 13, and then Kemendagristikan and the enforcement regulations for such business issued by the government, including the government regulation number 5 of 2021 on risk-based business licensing and government regulation number 25 of 2021 on the organization of the energy and mineral resources sector. Electric power provider. PLN, a state-owned enterprise fully funded by the Indonesian government, is responsible for the electric power supply for the entire nations. PLN generates, transmits, and distributes electricity based on the law on state-owned enterprise 1923 and electricity law, and under the supervision of MEML, PLN's annual budget, long-term investment plan, and financing plan are subject to approval of the Ministry of State-Owned Enterprises and commissaries. Similar commissioners and directors are appointed by the ministry. The domestic electricity retail price must be approved by the government and is kept to the level below PLN's production cost. To address this issue, the law on state-owned enterprises mandates the government to make up for the difference between PLN's production cost and the electricity retail price. As a result, such difference plus a certain margin are included in the national budget each year and paid to PLN. PLN's share in the power generation sector of Indonesia is 73% as of the end of June 2021. IPPs account for the rest 27%, and the company has a monopoly on the transmission distribution sector. A lot of private companies in the electricity sector. Public funds are not enough to cover the cost of building power plants and other facilities that are needed to meet the strong growth into Indonesia's electricity demand, and private funds are encouraged to invest in the power generation business. As of 2021, approximately 27% of electricity is supplied by IPPs, since PLN's own funds will be insufficient to pay for the development of power sources that will further expand in the future. Efforts are made to attract private funds through the introduction of the feed-in tariff here in after feed for the development of renewable energy-based power source. Details of FIT are given chapter in 3. The business activities of Indonesian power producers are restricted by the omnibus law that came into effect in 2020 and partially revised in December 2022. The authority over the business license in the power generation sector is divided based on the business entity and scale. The details are given in the table below. Current electricity condition in Kalimantan Island. Current electricity condition of Kalimantan Electricity Development Plan in Kalimantan Island. Doctor state that it is necessary to develop transmission grid in advance through consideration of the area's guideline in order to connect renewable energy-based plants to the grid. The connection guideline applies to Kalimantan Island is included in Appendix 4 of the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources Regulation number 20 of 2020 on the electrical power system network rules. The grid code. This guideline offers a set of rules, requirements, and standards that serve to ensure safety, reliability, and efficiency of the Kalimantan electricity system network, with an aim to meet the increasing demand for electricity supply. According to the guideline, IPPs operating solar or biomass power plants can supply electricity to PLN's transmission grid based on the mutually beneficial mechanism, B2B. このメカニズム、B2B メカニズムがいると。For North Kalimantan, the Regional Electricity General Plan applicable until 2037 is regulated under the North Kalimantan Governor Regulation number 43 of 2018 on General Plan for the Regional Electricity of North Kalimantan Province, North Kalimantan Governor. And the said regulations allows the General Electricity Plan to be revised and updated periodically to every 3 years, 3年ごとの更新 or any time in the following events occur. A. Situation surrounding electricity in the region change fundamentally. B. Strategic environment changes, such as a change in the indices for the electricity plan on the national, regional, or international level. Revisions to the General Electricity Plan will be decided by the governor after discussion with the Regional House of Representatives of North Kalimantan. Current electricity condition of Kalimantan Island. The 2021 electricity consumption peak load and capacity of PLN Kalimantan Unit UIW equal regional main unit and UIKL generation and transmission main unit were 3,175 megawatt and 74 megawatt. Respectively, hardly any renewable energy has been introduced in the area, and thermal power plants, coal, gas, and diesel serves as the main power sources. PLN annual power generation in Kalimantan. 実際にここで見るとディーゼルっていうところがめちゃくちゃ多いですよね。この7074、774、トータルがあったりしたり、実際にその次に多くてもスチームとか、やっぱり結局火力っていうところが多い。気力の火力っていうところが多い。実際にこのガスタービンっていうのもそうですけど、ガスエンジン。ソーラーっていうのは全然 0% ですよね、と。で、あとは、実際ハイドロ、水力も少ないしっていうところで、ほぼこのスチームっていうところとガスエンジン、で、ディーゼルというところに頼っているというのが状況だと。Lupter describes a plan for a 2 to 10 megawatt class gas engine power plants for Nunukan Islands. However, at the time of the site survey in September 2022, the study team visited the planned construction site and confirmed that no progress was being made with the plan, seeing the figure below. 全然なんか だだっ広いところになってますよねと。Note, filling is partially done on what appeared to be soft ground. Materials for gas power generation seem to be kept under the roof seen in the center of photo っていう、この辺のルーフが見えてるんです。ソースが。っていうところですと。で、カリマンタン島っていうのが実際まさに、ここ一式あって上の方がマレーシアとブルネイっていうところになっていますと。こっちの右側のところが基本的にインドネシアのところのカリマンタン島なので、マンヌサンタが出てくるっていうところですと。The renewable island of Kalimantan Island, as explained above, there are hardly any power plants that utilize renewable energy in Kalimantan at this point. However, great potential for hydroelectric power generation is reported for the basins of Mahakam River in East Kalimantan and Kajan River in North Kalimantan. There is a plan to move the capital functions to East Kalimantan province. And to meet the electricity demand of the new capital, the work had commenced on March 1st, 2023 to build Muntaran Induk hydropower plant, which will be one of the largest in Southeast Asia, with 9,000 megawatts in Marina Regency, North Kalimantan province. Biomass power plant and biogas power plants on Kalimantan Island have been registered with the Clean Development Mechanism (CDM) under UNFCCC. There is also a biomass power plant in West Kalimantan, which is the first such plant operated by PLN in Kalimantan in 2018. Table 4, also multiple mini hydroelectric plants have been built in villages on the island, including those in North Kalimantan province, with the support of international organizations such as Global Environmental Facility GEF. Biomass power plant on Kalimantan Island ってことで、実際バイオガスっていうとこと、バイオマスの取り組みっていうのにどんなキャパシティであるのか、まあそんなに大きくはない季節で、これまで過去にやってこられたっていうところがあります。基本的には、まあ、地元のところか、まあ、PLN っていうところになっていますよねと。The significance of the project for Kalimantan Island. Kalimantan Island is an area faced with typical issues related to renewable energy utilization in the island area of Indonesia. The main points of the issues are: 1. Power supply is tight and planned outage become normal occurrence. 実際にタイトなんですね、需給が。2. Also, the area is low in priority in PLN's budget allocation and has a high expectation for participation by the private sector IPPs. The business environment remains unimproved. 3. Even though the shift from fossil fuel diesel to renewable energy have begun, power plants are operated in a limited manner due to the grid vulnerability and one system not well established. Since the demonstration of the Kyurenko EMS is ongoing on Sumbar Island to address these issues, the Indonesian government, PLN, has shown a high interest in the technology. The needs are clearly there as EMS can stabilize the renewable power output so that vulnerable distribution grids, microgrids in the area can also the connection of renewable power plants. Kalimantan Island has the largest area in Indonesia and is the site of planned capital relocation. And the renewable energy introduction there is inevitable, and the island is a suitable site for the projects that aim to use renewable energy to serve the base load. Also, the Indonesian government does not think it is possible to eliminate existing internal combustion power generation all at once, and instead seeks the coexistence of such power generation method with renewable energy-based power generation for a certain period of time. Considering above, it can be said the Kyurenko EMS is superior in that it is capable of integrated coordinating control of new and old power generation facilities. If the project is proven successful in North Kalimantan, while the construction of the new capital is ongoing in neighboring East Kalimantan, the project can showcase a fine example towards dissemination of renewable energy in Indonesia. That's all.